Welcome to the Numerology and Astrology for July 21st, 2021. If you add all those numbers together, you get the number 15, and if you add the 1 and the 5 together, you get the Hermit number 6. The number 6 wants solitude and silence. The quiet calms the nerves and lowers the blood pressure. Sometimes being alone is not lonely at all, and it is exactly what someone needs to recharge the batteries. How can you give yourself permission to have a day to yourself? And if you had that moment, what would you do? I know my sister would paint. I know I would write. I know my cat would sleep on the back porch in the shade. All are great options. Some others might be reading a book, taking that walk, or talking with dear friends on the phone and catching up. I know that I often don't need a lot of time to regroup, but a day to do exactly what I want that allows me to feel at peace will suit me just fine. I hope you have a day to find such a moment. Enjoy it while you can. The astrology today. The moon is in Sagittarius until the evening, giving us the energy during the day to be a bit more adventurous and optimistic. With so much going on in the world, optimism is extremely helpful. I will take all I can get. This evening, the moon will go into the more determined and serious sign of Capricorn. At that time, all actions want to get to practical goals. Until then, let's use a more philosophical approach. Aiming too high will just get you irritated as we discover the goal we set is impossible for today. Believing in a dream is good, but not planning it well will screw it up every time. While this moon is trying to encourage and inspire, we also really want to get something done. Perhaps we need to look at the number 6 above and realize that taking some time for ourselves might have more value than previously realized. Venus is methodically moving through Virgo and will be there until the 16th of August. Great for a more sensual experience, but not as practical as we wanted. Keep our health routine, which will help us to handle stress. Pastimes are very attractive and helpful because there is a tendency to be worried and overthink practically everything. Okay, my quote for today. I had ancestors that crossed the plains. They worked the railroads and lived on trains. They had no one to keep them safe. They had no government support or fail safe. They learned to take on all they could. They did not worry or care if they were misunderstood. Opinions matter not when you struggle to survive because you are too busy to lie or contrive. There is much we need to remember about those times. In our arrogance, we forgot the value of dimes. We have within us the values of those in our past. Now is the time to see how their wisdom was so vast. They knew how to appreciate every moment in time and how even in struggle, they continued to climb. And my blog for today. Over 35 years ago, my husband had made a one-of-a-kind redwood refrigerator that works off of a 12-volt electrical line. This means that it runs directly off of solar, so it saves energy. He worked for a company in the past called Sunfrost, and he decided to make his personal refrigerator something special. After 35 years, one of the compressors decided to fail, so he called the owner, Larry Schussler, for help in figuring out what was needed to be done to fix it. So here we are many days later, and he has gathered up all the necessary pieces, and last night we began the process of clearing out the freezer and putting things on ice and then taking the old system apart. He expects it to take a day or so, as it has been 35 plus years since he put a refrigerator freezer together. I am constantly amazed at how much skill it takes to truly live in this beautiful place. I commend the souls who take on this monumental task and learn to live off the grid and how to fix all things that break. Many times, while I have been here over the last decade, I reflect on my own ancestry of the pioneering women in my bloodline that learned how to navigate covered wagons, trains, building their own homes, and figuring out how to take care and feed everyone at the same time. I remember the stories of my own grandfather's mother, how she was up at 3 a.m. and started baking bread and making pies. By the time the boys were up for breakfast at 5 a.m., she had pies cooling, bread baking, and breakfast ready. and breakfast on the farm included pie, my kind of breakfast. But my grandfather said that she lived in the kitchen to feed everyone because she was either cooking or cleaning. I believe everyone comes from those in their family line that were pioneers and took great risks and had at a huge cost to make a better life. And within us are all those genes that kick in when necessary. These days, so many feel put upon when things are tough, but our ancestors had it so much harder than us. That is why when things get challenging around me, I can hear my great grandmother in my head telling me to get up and get going, that she did not go through everything she did in order to have her progeny collapse or whine about the hand life dealt them. It always gets me up and out of my lethargy. And yet, I marvel at how my husband has so many skills that he has used and relied upon to make this life in such a beautiful way. Today, perhaps we need to remember and thank those that gave everything they had to make a better life for their children. And perhaps those ancestors can teach this generation how to stand up and take on what needs to be done. Globally, there is a great need for those that can inspire, lead, and have the skills that our society will need to go forward. The tools are there. The people are skilled and ready. Now we need to learn to listen to them and make the necessary changes. Thanks, everyone.